And if something does not fit within that mission statement in some way, the chances of them accepting it are going to be very slim. You won't find many shows of, we'll say, Ming Dynasty ceramics at the Museum of Modern Art. Why? It's not within their theme. Ming Dynasty, that's like several thousand years ago. Museum of Modern Art is going to be pretty much 20th and 21st century. You want to follow proposal specifications exactly. Most museums now actually have online some type of guidelines that you can read as you are going to propose an exhibit to them. So you want to make sure you read those guidelines to the T and that your proposal fits those guidelines to the T. It's the same way when you are applying for grants. Your various funding organizations have guidelines that are their way of winnowing out or funneling out what's not going to fit. If you don't fit within those, and that includes if they want a bound document and they want it bound with a pink cover, and you send them a document that's got a really beautiful turquoise blue cover. Pew. Be an amazing proposal, you didn't follow directions. So you want to make sure that you're aware of the guidelines. And then you also want to be very precise even in how that proposal should be bound, because there are many museums that want your proposal printed on 100% cotton rag paper as compared to recycled. They're even specific about the color sometimes, and whether it's matte or gloss paper. So read the guidelines really, really carefully. That's one of the ways that people who read proposals decide whether someone can follow instructions. Because if you can't follow it on the proposal, you're sure not going to follow it when you're hanging the exhibit. That's the reasoning. So the draft. When you are composing a draft exhibition proposal, you want to write in an active voice. Active means that when you are active in particular relates to verbs. You want your verbs to be very descriptive. You want them to be filled with action without being overinflated. But saying, I walked to the door as compared to I bolted for the door, or even compared to I ran for the door, conjures up two different sets of visual imagery. The verbs that we choose, as well as the adjectives and the adverbs. An adverb is a word that describes a verb. So we want to be aware of the language that we're using, right in the active voice. After you have, and that includes words like compose, to conceptualize. Any word you use, you ought to be able to define too, though. So just because something sounds great, you throw it in there, and it sounds right, and it may even be the right word. You might be called upon it when you're defending your proposal. What did you mean when you said? So know the meanings of your words. Have a really good dictionary. There are times why, as a curator, there are two, and as a student, there are two books that you should have always through your whole career as a student and a professional. What are they? Now, the Bible's not one of them. What is that? A dictionary and a thesaurus. Required reading for every class. Then, once you've written your draft, you want to leave it alone for a day. Set it down, and you might want to go back and tweak it right away. Leave it alone. Have you ever done an assignment? This includes myself. You're really pleased with it. You decide to hand it in, you read it, and it looks just like you thought it should read. You hand it in, and it comes back with red marks all over it. Maybe that never happened to you, but it sure happened to me. Right? Because you know what it's supposed to say. So you're reading it, you know what it's supposed to say, and it says it. You're expecting it. Read your proposal out loud after setting it down, and then proof it for grammar, spelling, punctuation, sentence construction. Never just use a spell check. Why? Yeah, it could be spelled correctly and be the wrong word. Drives me crazy when I see people from IIA send a message to me and it says, "You're invited," and they spell it Y-O-U-R. Why? It's a contracted word, yeah. There's supposed to be an apostrophe. Here we are at an academic institution. I don't know, maybe we spell knowledge N-O-L-E-D-G-E here. So put it down and then come back to it. Read it out loud. Don't just use a spell check. What was that? I forgot the W. Yeah, I did. Yeah. That's why it's a good idea to have someone with good editing skills, like Alfred. I'll know who to come to. Right? You know, preferably an art exhibition proposal writing to review the document and suggest improvement. This is the time that we should have this philosophy of Kaizen. It's a Japanese philosophy, Kaizen. Kaizen means continual improvement. In other words, no matter how good something is being done, you can find a way to do it even better. Rather than just being good enough, strive for the best and continual improvement. You also want to make sure this person who's looking at your draft has the specifications from the gallery or museum of what a draft should look like. So they're reading the specs first and then they read your document. Because you know what it's supposed to say. They, having not written it, will know what it's supposed to say, but they're looking at your document to see if it really does. So it's really important. Don't just use your own eyes. And really, never have your mate, your friend, read it for you. You want it to be someone who is going to be, as best they can be, objective. When it comes time to print the proposal, you want to use good quality paper. Don't skimp on the cost. You want to deliver that proposal in person, and if possible, have an appointment to meet the person in charge, the one who will be making this decision, or the people who will be making the decision of whether that proposal will be exhibited or will be accepted.